Welcome to Case Chronicles by Case Radar, a podcast where we delve into the fascinating world of court cases and judgments. I'm David Dio, your host, and together we'll explore the stories behind some of the most significant legal discussions, unraveling the complexities of the law one case at a time. Whether you're a legal professional, a law student, or just someone with a keen interest in justice, Case Chronicles by Case Radar is here to provide you with insightful analysis and compelling narratives straight from the courtroom. So, sit back, relax, and join us as we journey through the intricacies of the legal system, shedding light on the rulings that shape our society. Let's get started.
Our story centers around a dispute between an employee and a pharmaceutical giant. The case is called Amoo Janet versus GlaxoSmithKline Consumer Nigeria PLC. The case number is NICN/LA/174/2020. And this is an industrial court case that shows how perseverance, strategy, and timing can play a massive role in seeking justice. And we're going to break it down for you, every single twist and turn. So, buckle up as we dive into this case. Imagine it's the year 2020. Ms. Amoo Janet is an employee of GlaxoSmithKline Consumer Nigeria PLC, or GSK for short, and she's facing an uphill battle. So she believes that she's entitled to certain end-of-service benefits, including redundancy payment and gratuity, but GSK isn't budging. The dispute ends up in the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, Lagos Judicial Division, presided over by the ever-astute Honorable Justice Professor Elizabeth Orji. Honorable Justice Professor Elizabeth Orji. But this isn't just any regular case of employee versus employer. This case becomes a legal chess match, one that pushes the limits of timing, strategy, and the ability to amend your claims when new evidence comes to light. Representing Ms. Janet is A.O. Kolawole, and on the defense team for GSK, we have a formidable crew, C.I. Imeche, alongside S.U. Iwoha, Chinyere Ahunaya, and Kayode Elumelo. The date is February 21, 2024, and both sides are preparing for a crucial ruling. But first, let's rewind and dive into the core facts of the case. So what exactly is the heart of this dispute? Ms. Janet believes that she's entitled to redundancy benefits and gratuity from GSK. She argues that several of her former colleagues received both, and she's fighting to get the same treatment. But the problem is, Ms. Janet wasn't initially able to provide evidence to support her claim because of confidentiality agreements that allegedly prevented former employees from sharing details about their final entitlements. Sounds a bit sketchy, doesn't it? According to Ms. Janet's legal team, she only managed to obtain the necessary documents much later in the trial. And guess what? These documents suggested that GSK had, in fact, paid redundancy payments and gratuity to her colleagues. And this late-breaking evidence prompts Ms. Janet to file a motion in December 2023, asking the court to 1. Strike out the name of the second defendant, GSK Nigeria PLC, from the suit. 2. Amend her statement of fact to include the new evidence. 3. Reopen the trial to present this new evidence. But the defense was not about to let it slide. GSK's legal team immediately challenged the application. Their argument was that Ms. Janet had every opportunity to obtain this evidence later in the trial, and they contended that her motion to amend was a strategic ploy, a last-ditch effort to strengthen a weak case after a similar lawsuit involving her colleagues had been decided against them. Now, GSK's lawyers also argued that Ms. Janet's application was bought in bad faith. They feared it would allow her to essentially have a second bite at the cherry, as they put it. And with the trial already nearing its end, allowing new evidence at this stage would be unfair and prejudicial to their defense. The question before Justice Orji became, should the court allow this late amendment and reopening of the trial, or was this a case of too little, too late? And now let's get to the legal heavyweights. Ms. Janet's legal team relied on Order 26 of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria Civil Procedural Rules 2017. And this provision allows for amendments to pleadings at any stage of the proceeding, if doing so would help resolve the core issues between the parties and secure substantial justice. And her counsel further cited the case of Oil Nigeria PLC versus Yusuf, further emphasizing that the court's discretion to grant such amendments must be exercised judiciously, keeping in mind the interests of justice. And on the other hand, GSK's defense team pulled out the stops, referencing key cases like Eze Ene and Ano 2017. They argued that amendments after the close of evidence should be rare and only granted when they wouldn't prejudice the opposing party. But Justice Orji wasn't convinced that Ms. Janet was acting in bad faith. Instead, She recognized that the evidence Ms. Janet sought to introduce would be crucial to determining whether redundancy benefits and gratuity could be paid together, a central issue in the case. So in making her decision, Justice Orji drew guidance from EcoBank Nigeria PLC versus Admiral Environmental Care Limited and others, which supports allowing amendments that clarify the real issues in dispute, so long as they don't cause injustice to the other party. And this is where things get interesting. Justice Orji ultimately decided in favor of Ms. Janet. She ruled that the late amendment would be allowed and that the trial would be reopened to admit the new evidence. Her reasoning was simple but powerful. Justice, in this case, required that all relevant evidence be considered. Ms. Janet's claim revolved around the payment of redundancy benefits and gratuity, and the newly obtained documents were central to resolving that issue. To deny the amendment would mean potentially leaving a key question unanswered. The judge, citing Nesbitt Law Group LLP versus Acasta European Insurance Company Limited, 2018, balanced the need for finality in litigation with the importance of ensuring that justice is done. And in this case, she concluded that justice required giving Ms. Janet a chance to present her new evidence. But Justice Orji didn't leave GSK in the cold. She also gave the defense an opportunity to respond to the new evidence, ensuring they wouldn't be unfairly prejudiced. So, what can we take away from Amoo Janet versus GSK Nigeria PLC? It's a case that reminds us of the dynamic nature of litigation. Just when you think a case is nearing its end, new evidence can just come up, or an unforeseen twist can reopen old wounds, and the court is going to be forced to reconsider its approach. And it also emphasizes how important timing is in litigation. Amendments are a tool that can be used even as late in the game as it goes, if they serve the greater goal of ensuring that justice is done. But then they must be pursued with caution and supported by good faith. Finally, this case underscores the court's delicate role in balancing the need for swift resolution with the imperative to deliver substantial justice. And guys, that wraps up today's episode of Case Chronicles by Case Radar. I think that this case was pretty intriguing, especially seeing how dynamic litigation can be and how the court has to consider justice. It is the reason why the courts exist at the end of the day. It's the last hope of the common man. And so the court is living up to its name in cases like this where we see justice being upheld and people going home with what they deserve.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Case Chronicles by Case Radar. We hope you found this deep dive into the legal intricacies both informative and engaging. Until next time, this is your host signing off.